the Queen has thrown her support behind Prince Andrew. It comes despite worldwide criticism over his TV interview on the Jeffrey Epstein scandal and a backlash from supporters of his charity patronages. Sources confirm that the 93-year-old monarch granted her approval for the Duke of York to give an interview to BBC Newsnight and stands by him. She signaled her backing as Andrew made it clear last night that he regrets the whole scenario and not expressing sympathy for the pedophile's victims. And it emerged yesterday that key sponsors and supporters of Andrew's charities are reviewing their involvement with him. Accountancy firm KPMG has told Buckingham Palace it is not renewing its major sponsorship of the Duke of York's Pitch at Palace mentorship initiative amid continuing controversy over Andrew's friendship with U.S. billionaire Epstein, who was found hanged in his jail cell August, accused of sex trafficking charges. Royal sources stressed KPMG's decision was taken before the furor over Andrew's interview with Newsnight. But the eighth in line to the throne, 59, has been embroiled in controversy since the summer, when previously sealed evidence, including claims about him cavorting with young women in the pay of Epstein, was released. Another partner of Pitch at Palace, pharmaceutical company AstraZeneca, has indicated it is considering ending its work with the Duke. It said, "Our 3-year partnership with Pitch at Palace is due to expire at the end of this year and is currently being reviewed." The Outward Bound Trust is understood to be reviewing Andrew's position as patron later this week. The Duke replaced his father, Prince Philip, who had been patron since 1953, in March. Students at the University of Huddersfield, where Andrew is Chancellor, discussed a motion to lobby him to stand down. The university insisted it remained supportive of Andrew, but former lecturer Stephen Adorle said his links to Epstein had damaged its reputation. He said, "Students are very concerned about things like sexual harassment and the Me Too movement, and to be associated with someone who at the very least was a friend of a convicted sex trafficker and pedophile, is not a good thing for the university." Andrew and senior Buckingham Palace advisors are desperately trying to minimize the damage, particularly after he failed to acknowledge any sympathy for the young women who said they were sex trafficking victims and Epstein's sex slaves when they met the prince at the billionaire's mansions. Courtiers also recognized that it was a mistake for him to spend 4 days at Epstein's New York home in 2010, ostensibly to tell him he was ending their friendship, and not to express regret for staying friends with Epstein after the financier's 2008 conviction for procuring a minor for prostitution. Andrew told a royal source last night that he wanted to make a couple of points. He said, "The first is that there are a great many things that with the benefit of hindsight one regrets. My association with Epstein is one of them. Had it been better that I had never met Jeffrey Epstein? Undoubtedly yes. Unfortunately, for me and my family, I can't unknow him, however much I would wish. Do I regret going to tell him personally of my decision? Yes. Every day." The second point is in relation to the victims of Epstein. As I have said repeatedly, I deplore all exploitation of women and the suggestion that I would condone, participate in or encourage any such behavior is abhorrent. I have the utmost sympathy for all those affected by his actions and behavior. It is my fervent wish that there will be, in time, some form of closure for his victims. Prince Andrew has covered himself in stupidity, claims Bell. In spite of the Queen's support for Andrew's decision to submit himself to the forensic interview by Newsnight presenter Emily Maitlis, there is consternation at the palace over the constitutional fallout. Andrew's actions have wiped Charles and Camilla's tour of New Zealand off newspapers and television so far and, more importantly, have overshadowed the general election campaign. During campaigns, the royal family continue normal duties, but are usually urged to be careful to avoid doing anything that will attract controversy and distract attention from the politicians. Labour supporters have said Andrew's problems have disadvantaged their party, particularly because it is behind in the polls and needs maximum media attention to have a chance of catching up. Politicians have also found themselves under pressure to discuss what should be done with Andrew. Prime Minister Boris Johnson refused to be drawn into the debate yesterday, saying, "I won't get dragged into commentary about matters concerning the royal family." But Labour's trade spokesman, Barry Gardiner, said, "I hope very much Andrew will give evidence about his links to Epstein to FBI investigators in the U.S. I believe that if this interview was intended to be open and transparent, then it should be focused on the victims, it should be focused on justice for those victims of Jeffrey Epstein," he said. Anything that Prince Andrew can do in order to further that by saying what he knows of the time he spent with his former friend can only be the right thing to do. Labour's Shadow Pensions Minister, Jack Dromey, condemned Andrew for showing no empathy for the victims and said he should be ashamed of himself. "I thought it was utterly disgraceful, and to be absolutely frank, he is a disgrace," he said. Liberal Democrat leader Joe Swinson added, "How you could have a whole interview without him expressing his views, his sympathy, his feelings about what those young women had gone through, I just thought, was really disheartening."